It gives me great pleasure to have this conversation with two beautiful examples of social innovators, people who've made a choice in their life to do and follow their bliss and say, no, this, I need to do this. Even if it seems naive or crazy, I need to do this. And they're doing this is making a difference in the world. And it's an honor to have you, Tariq Mounib. I hope I said it correctly.
Yes.
Beautiful. And
Thank you, Don.
Bassett. And Tarek, you're living in Switzerland, but now you're in Canada because you
Yes,
grew up
yes,
on your way to New York for the premiere of Free Trip to Egypt.
yes. So it's premiering on Friday, May 31st in New York. So I'm just flying, meeting my parents, and then going straight to New York City.
Fabulous. And Heather, you're in Melbourne, Australia.
I am in Melbourne, Australia.
Okay. And when we discovered the film and the dream that you had, Tarek, and Heather and I had been working together, we said, oh my God, pledging to listen and pledging to speak your truth with love and compassion, these belong together. And we want to make a wave to get the word out about the film and invite people to become partners who can host people in theaters on June 12th, which is a day of unity. A pledge to listen is happening then. So Heather, maybe you could share, not just with Tarek, but with our listeners, a little bit more about the vision of Spruth and why you're known as the Spruth Lady.
Awesome. Great to be here. Thank you. So the idea literally came from, I'd sold my business. I'd had a business for 35 years and 8 months. And I had this calling. I had this calling that podiatry, foot health is not my future. And I'm like, yes, it is. I'd spent all my time, I'm going to be looking after feet till the day I die. And then I had this calling that's not your future. And it's like, what are you talking about? And it's just, it's not my future. So I'd sold my business and I had no idea. I'm sitting in the unknown of what am I here to offer? And I sat on my bed and I said, help me out. Just help me out. What am I here for? How am I here to make a bigger difference in the world, to live my legacy? Help me out. And I got this instant download, Spruth, Spruth. And I was like, great. What is it? Because it's fine to have this made up word. And then I went to a moment of being at my book launch. The first book that I wrote is called A Cosmically Juicy Life. And someone came up and said, what's your book about? And I went, my first 59 years. And they said, yeah, but what's the message? I was like, oh, maybe hope, faith. Yeah, what's the real message? What's the message? And I was like, oh, there isn't one. It's my first 59 years. And he insisted. And then I said, oh, I stopped. I thought about it. I felt it. And I said, permission to speak my truth. And he said, I have no problem speaking my truth. I do it all the time. And my body cringed. And I thought, oh, you don't have any problem speaking your truth. And out of my mouth came permission to speak my truth with love and compassion. When I did that, it was like everything in my life just sinked into spots about all the silence, all the times that I hadn't spoken my truth, or all the times I'd spoken my truth, but it was vented out there. First, permission to speak my truth about my needs, about what I believed, about what I wanted, about what was important to me. And it was just profound. As a business owner, I could see where that shifted things. As a mother, as a daughter, as a friend, as a team member, everything in my life shifts when we speak our truth with love and compassion. And then we have possibilities. When it's locked inside us, it causes dis-ease up here, dis-ease in our body. And then there's no possibilities. It's just loopy, whatever's going on. Whereas when we speak stuff and when we speak it from that place of love and compassion, possibilities will start to appear. And I'd love John to share a little about it now, because we've spent a bit of time really deeply immersing into, if you want success of a mission, of a vision, then having that space where you can be vulnerable, where you can be courageous, and where you can be really true to yourself, means that we can stay on board a mission or a vision or a dream from that place of honesty, of sacredness, of self, and then to others. I also like to hear John's because he's outside of my head, my being around this.
Well, I shared just yesterday with Heather. Someone told me Peter Drucker, who's a very respected management advisor and consultant, had said that culture eats strategy for breakfast. And I love that. And in our world today, all of our thinking is not going to melt our hearts. It's not going to enable us to live with peace with each other if we can't be able to create those safe places where we can speak our truth with love and compassion. And it seemed to me that, Tarek, that you knew that. You knew that if you brought people together in a safe place and they went past their ignorance and fear of each other, they would discover that we have so much more in common than we have that keeps us apart. And the divisions that we're all confronting right now are often rooted in just in ignorance and not knowing each other, and then oftentimes not feeling safe enough to speak our truth. That's what moved me so when I saw what you did and the courage it took for you to invite people on a journey that would change their lives that way. And for me, it's very similar because with Heather's dream, it's taking a journey, and sometimes it takes courage to, I called it, I was spruthful. The other day I said, I'm going to be spruthful here. And it's that same kind of journey to discover the truth that it seems that your film was on. And for me, spruth has become part of our culture here in sign. We say, in sign, we spruth, as a way to say, let's not fall into the trap of backbiting and gossiping and doing the kind of things that only pull us apart. Let's learn how to lean into our own truth and speak our truth with love and compassion. So I can see it firsthand in my own life. I see it in the culture we're building, and I see the film that you've made as a chance to invite people to go beyond their ignorance and fear, to discover their own truth and to discover each other's truth in the process. So is that fair, Heather? Is that a fair dose of spruthing here?
Yeah, it is. It's creating that safety within, and then that connection with others. And what I found that it heals, it empowers, it connects and unites us in our humanity. So is that some background for you there?
Yeah, that's very, very useful and really beautiful. And I think for me, when I hear that, I see a lot of connections with the journey we had on the film and the project. And for me, I think the biggest thing is that I never went with the intention of educating people or showing them or trying to get them beyond their ignorance. I think it was my journey of facing my own ignorance that inspired me, because I had my own fears. I had my own preconceptions about what certain types of political people were. And then I had the choice to just, react in fear and hostility, or see what would happen if I reached out to them in kindness. And that was a real shift for me. So I went with the intention of meeting these people who I thought feared me, who I thought held certain views, and realized, yeah, okay, some of them did, but the vast majority didn't. And it was in this connection that I found my own transformation. And then I realized we were all transforming together on the journey, right? So I really, sometimes, the media says, this person's going to educate ignorant people. I cringe when I hear that, because it's part of my journey. And what's really interesting, where it ties into what Heather is talking about and with Spruth, is that the Pledge to Listen movement came out of that, because I realized the magic of the human connection that we discovered came because we were able to listen to each other with respect. And I find as soon as you listen and release your defensiveness, then it creates a connection which is conducive to spruce, which allows then, because you're no longer feeling you have to defend your ideas, I could just simply listen to people who had certain views, and I just listened. And sometimes just in the act of listening, I felt heard. I felt connected, and I didn't even have to voice words. But sometimes then the safety would come where I could offer my truth in the way you talk about it, because I love the point with love and compassion, or, you know, this is an important part of the listening process. And also with the pledge to listen, I think the spruce is a really nice part of it, because we don't say listen and just shut up. The pledge to listen is actually, I pledge not to demonize anyone who holds certain opinions, views, or beliefs, but instead will try to understand their reasons and their arguments. And this is the second part, and express my own views in return. Right? So I think that's why it's really important, is that when we listen and we're heard, it creates a context that we can offer it. And that's why I think the spruce is a beautiful way to say, yeah, we don't have to, you know, a friend of mine said, I'm not taking the pledge to listen. There's no way I'm going to listen to all these views out there and not say anything. Right. Yeah. But I think spruce gives an example where, no, it's not about not saying anything. It's just about saying it from a place of heart. So that's very useful, and thank you for sharing that with me, because I think it really ties into the journey that I was experiencing.
Yeah, that's perfectly said. It's such a great fit. You know, in Native American culture, they have the distinction of emptying, which is not venting, which lets people have a space to speak and be heard. And it's a miracle what can happen in that process. That when
I think it's really clear when our intention is to speak our truth to nurture the connection, versus when we're speaking to break the connection, right? Yeah. And that's what I love about what you're saying, because I think if you create this container of love, compassion, it means I want to continue connecting with you, and through offering my truth, no matter how weird and bizarre it is, if I have the intention of connection, it changes the whole mindset and the shift.
And I think for me, excuse me, if we're speaking from self-love, that people speak truth, and truth is that out there. It is they, them, it's that outward look, whereas spruce is totally the inward look of what's real for me. And when I do that, when I give myself permission to go what's real from a space of love and compassion for myself, and then the person that I want to connect with, then that's such a different thing. And when we create that safety or that sacred container, that this is our intention, that we're here to, and then ask for, I would like you to listen, I would like you to witness, I would like you to validate, I would like possibilities. And so even in that, it's actually owning what I need, or what I desire, or what I believe, or what I can't, or what I can't accept. And when it comes from love and compassion, it's so different to simply sharing your spruce. So again, for me, I see it as such a fit, because if there's two people speaking from this place, then judgments are normal. It's what we do with the judgments. It's that we don't follow that and make up stories and the defensive and the reactive. It's staying in that place of like, wow, this is my reality, which can shift in a moment. As soon as I speak it, it's like, oh, actually, that's not true for me anymore. And that's what I think that's what I think, or what I felt even watching in the trailer. When people started to admit things, then it shifted, and then there were possibilities. So I love that you're creating the same, that we're pretty much creating the same thing.
Well, speaking and listening have a good history of working well together. We want them to get even better. In fact, so anyone tuning in, it's June 12th is a special day inspired by the film that Tarek made, freetriptoegypt.com. There are 500 theaters in the US that are going to be sharing this film on this day of unity. And the intent is not only to watch the film, but then there'll be a live broadcast coming from Washington, D.C. that follows. And there'll be hosts in theaters encouraging people to take the inspiration of the film and go out into their communities and build upon this vision of there being unity in the world and there being a greater understanding and compassion for ourselves and for each other. And that's what we're so excited about, Tarek, and I'm just so grateful to you for the risk you took as an entrepreneur to say, hey, I want to make a difference in the world, and followed your dream. And now the film is a reality, and it's going to be launched on June 12th. And I am just so excited for you and so moved by everybody you share that trailer with, who sees that film, says, this is what we need for our time.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we're very excited. If we fill up the theaters, that will be 80,000 people. And so we're really excited about that. And so it's more than just coming to see a film. It's about, 80,000 people joining together, making a statement that we want to see more listening and kindness in the world. And that's inspiring. And I remember actually the Dalai Lama came to Zurich in 2005, I think it was, and he offered an 8-day workshop for in the hockey stadium. So it was 8-day workshop, and it was sold out, and you had like 10,000 people sold out for 8 days. And for me, what was really inspiring about that was simply that there were 10,000 people in Zurich that just wanted to dedicate 8 days to develop their loving kindness, right? So there's a lot of beauty happening out there. So I'm hoping on June 12th we can all come together for this. And I think going back to what Heather was saying in terms of the connection, for me, I think what's becoming really clear in the world, and I think a lot of us are seeing this, is, I mean, it's so basic, it's horrible to have to say this, but I think we're realizing that our individual happiness is linked with the other person's happiness, right? I mean, we are now we cannot afford to just ignore the other person, right? And this happens either at a global level with climate change or refugee crises, right down to the individual level. So if I'm speaking and in my consciousness, I'm actually thinking of your benefit, and not thinking about my own views, then things happen, then magic happens. But if I'm only thinking of my own consciousness, then it doesn't manifest in the same way, right? And I think simply as soon as I take the other person's happiness as important to mine, then I find my own happiness, right? And I think that's the thing about listening and speaking. As long as we're doing that with a consciousness of not ignoring one person or the other, all will be well.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So if you want to find out more about Spruth, Heather Joy Bassett, BASSETT.com is a site that people can go. And if you want to know more about being a partner or a host and being involved in June 12th's Day of Unity and this pledge to listen, it's freetriptoegypt.com. And it's really been a joy to have you come together to share. You are two heroes in my eyes, Shiro and Hero, who have followed their bliss and followed their dream and are making a difference in the world. And we are incredibly grateful to you both for the impact that it's having and will have in the days and months to come. So anything in closing, Heather, you want to share?
Um, the importance of adding you to being one of those people, because John has created Sign, where he is bringing people like us together from all over the globe, all with a common mission of making the world a better place, of bringing peace to earth. So again, I want to honor you for co-creating this space. Again, Tarek, I've watched that trailer probably 20 times now, and every time I'm like, oh, I get your bit about following, just following something that's like, I don't know, I just got to follow this, and then the joy that you bring and that you're creating. And I'm just forever grateful for that, for bringing that. So thank you so much. I'm excited to be part of it.
Thank you, Heather, for all what you've shared, for spruthing and teaching me about spruth. And thank you, John. You're a real inspiration. Love what you're doing and bringing people together, and really looking forward to the coming days and world peace very soon.
Oh, may it be so.